welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form, or you just want to give this channel some like love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing why a sex repulsed asexual may want to read Asexual Guide to Sex. How does that even work? We're going to be discussing that in a few moments. But first of all, if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy. I'm the author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives 47 Asexual Stories book. And this is a book I published in 2017 and still sells well today. This is the first book I ever published for asexuals, and I'm currently working on my second book for asexuals. So what is the second book for asexuals? The second book for asexuals is called Asexual Guide to Sex. And many people might be thinking, why, if a lot of asexuals don't like sex, would they want a book about how to have sex? It doesn't make sense. Well, this might be true for some asexuals, but it's not true for all of them. And it's not even true for every sex repulsed asexual that they don't want to read about sex. So let's talk about asexuality. Let's really get down to the business of what it actually is. Asexuality is a sexual orientation that is the lack of sexual attraction in broad terms. So this means that asexuals can, if they want to, if they'd like to, if they feel willing to, if they choose to, have sex. Having sex doesn't stop them being asexual if they don't experience sexual attraction. So, for example, I can kiss a guy, I can get highly aroused through kissing, my body can respond to images or words that are sexually explicit, but I have no desire to have sex, no need, no urge, no want, and my arousal is not geared to me wanting to have sex because I purely, really, absolutely, categorically don't want that. So you can also, as an asexual, experience arousal without actually wanting or needing or experiencing sexual attraction. And what's often kind of mixed up by society is with heterosexual relationships, people just think that heterosexual relationships are basically a romantic relationship and sex go together. They think that arousal, sexual attraction, sexual desire, the majority of people just think all of them are bundled together, the aesthetic attraction, all of it. You know, this is how sexuals view the world, that it's kind of like a whole bundle together. But we know as asexuals that this simply isn't true. You know, I did a video for part of Asexual Awareness Week last year that explained different types of attractions that I experience. So I experience aesthetic, romantic attraction, emotional attraction, creative attraction, closed attraction, spiritual attraction, intelligence attraction. You know, these are all different types of attractions that I experience, right? But I don't experience platonic attraction, which is very strange for an asexual person. And I don't experience sexual attraction. So what does this mean? It means that because I have a high romantic drive and I also experience sensual attraction, then, you know, it means in my sensual attraction case, I'm attracted to a guy's upper body. So I would like to kiss him, to touch his face, to touch his lips, his cheeks, to kiss his neck, to kiss his ears, to kiss his nose, to kiss his forehead, to stroke his hair and kiss his head and stroke his arms. And, you know, these days I'm quite happy to lick, kiss and suck a guy's chest as well, but I don't want him to do that to me. So this is, like, for me, that sensual attraction, touching a guy's upper body. To him, he might like that because he's sexually attracted to me. Do you see how this goes? So people interpret different things in different ways. So With the Asexual Guide to Sex book, this is not a book I wrote saying any asexuals should have sex. I don't believe anyone should have sex. I believe it's a choice as to whether people have sex or not. Obviously, if you're a very sex-repulsed asexual for yourself, you don't want sex, you're not going to have sex, and that's good, and you shouldn't do, right? I'm personally a sex-repulsed asexual. For me personally, I do not care about if another person has sex, if it's consensual, and if they want to do it and they're happy to do it. I have no problem with people having lots of sex if that's what they want, as long as I don't need to see that and I don't see it and they don't involve me in it. That's fine. But I, as a sex repulsed asexual, I can still talk about sex a lot, which some sex repulsed asexuals can't. So depending on what type of sex repulsed asexual you are, you may or may not be able to read the Asexual Guide to Sex. If you're a sex repulsed asexual that hates any explicit language to do with sex, the word sex creeps you out, you want to have a sick bucket nearby, anything to do with sex just makes your skin crawl, the book isn't for you, you know, and especially, you know, if you don't want sex at all ever, you categorically know that, please do not read this book and put yourself under any duress and upset and pain, because that's not why I wrote it. I wrote the book specifically for the people who are asexual, who are thinking seriously about whether they want to try sex or not. Some people are already thinking this before I've even put a pen to paper. You know, they were already thinking about it, they're already considering it. And some people are asexual and already in sexual relationships and they're having a hard time because they don't understand what to do. It's not natural to them and they feel like awkward and like they don't know what they're doing. And, you know, if they had more confidence, they might feel better in those moments if they want to have those moments. So this book, Asexual Guide to Sex, is definitely not saying asexuals should have sex. I don't think anyone, whatever orientation or gender, whatever person, I don't think they should have sex if they don't want it. This is a book specifically for those who are already considering having sex for the first time ever, thinking about it, and they're like, where the hell do I start? What do I do? It came about because I had an aromantic asexual friend message me one day and say, hey, Sandra, if I wanted to try sex, what would I do? And this shocked me. You know, I'm thinking, why would an asexual even think about that? But then when I looked back and thought about my own life and all the previous sexual relationships I've been in, my first one was the age of 6, I have a heck of a lot of experience in this area. Just because I'm asexual doesn't mean to say I don't have a lot of sexual experience, although I have a lot less than some people would, because me and my long-term ex sometimes went 2 or 3 months without doing anything like that. But then we used to do sometimes 3 times in a row. So, you know, I don't have sex anymore. I haven't had sex since 2011. I just couldn't do that after I split up with him. I just didn't have any inclination, want or need. I never even looked at him and thought, I want sex with you. It's just something that was expected in the relationship. I'd just been used to being with him that long. I just got on with it. It wasn't something I hated and couldn't do. It was something I didn't really like and wasn't interested in. Nowadays, I hate it for me personally. I don't like the idea of it. It repulses me. I feel turned off the more sexual guys I talk to, like in Facebook dating. A lot of them, you know, I look for qualities and values in a person, like how intelligent they are, what hobbies and interests they've got. You know, can they hold a decent conversation? Do they share their innermost thoughts, feelings, emotions, and secrets with me? And I find a lot of the sexual guys just don't do that type of stuff. So since I found out I was asexual in 2014, I am asexual, then, you know, life has been very different for me because I'm able to connect with asexuals in a way I can't usually with sexuals, right? But the book, going back to the Asexual Guide to Sex book, I've told you the type of people it wouldn't be suitable for, right? That the sex repulsed asexuals that don't want to hear about sex, don't want a mention of it, don't want an explicit language of it. It triggers them and they hate it. And anyone who definitely doesn't want to try sex, this is not the book for you. But there are some benefits for sex repulsed asexuals who can actually stick reading the book to read it, right? So I'm working on the Asexual Guide to Sex book now. This is why I was not on the stream yesterday, because I was busy working on the book, and I'm late tonight because I was busy working on the book. My aim is to get it finished, ready for Kindle publishing by the 31st of January. This is a big ask considering it's already the 15th, right? I haven't got long to go. I've got just over 2 weeks to go, right? But I'm trying my hardest to get it up to the quality and standard it needs to be. All the rest of the stories are done now. I don't need to worry about them anymore. It's just my part of the book. But my part of the book is a huge part of the book, as you can imagine, in terms of, I mean, in comparison to the whole book, it's not huge. And, because there's loads of other stories in the book, but it's a big deal. I'm doing a lot to do with safety in my part of the book that hasn't been covered as in depth as my part of the book, and so I feel great responsibility to anyone that's reading the book, like their life is in my hands. That's honestly how I feel. Obviously the book is just advice that you can take or you can't. I'm not a qualified advisor or medical professional, so you have to seek medical professional advice from. I'm a qualified information advice and guidance diploma person, so I have got an information advice and guidance diploma, but I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can only share my experience with you, and you have to make your own decision, whatever the book says, as to whether you want to have sex or try it or not. But if you're sex repulsed asexual, there are benefits of reading it, and one of the benefits is that we discuss in this Asexual Guide to Sex book, we discuss boundaries and assertiveness and communication skills. So obviously, like I said, a large part of my part of the book is safety. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your own safety. I'm not responsible for your safety, but I feel a duty of care to anyone who reads my book. And I do feel a sense of responsibility of being able to provide as much information as I can do to the best of my ability, right? But at the end of the day, the decision is yours. And obviously I have to say the disclaimer, I am the publishing company, which is actually my own publishing company, accept no liability for that. And you have to make your own decision. It's not financial or legal advice or professional doctor advice that I'm giving you. But I'm just saying that, I can only give my perspective on how life has been for me and the knowledge and skills I've got in order to pass them on to you. Now, for sex repulsed asexual, yes, you may never ever want sex in your life, but you still might want a relationship. And if you want a relationship, you need to know how to set boundaries up in that relationship so you can be safe as possible, and how to be assertive and how to have effective communication skills. These are things that you need in any type of relationship, including friendship. So even if you don't want a relationship, like a romantic relationship or a queer platonic relationship, you can even use these skills in friendships. I've got really good friendships these days, but it is, I think, due to the fact I'm a lot more confident, I've got a lot more self-esteem, but that is because I'm more assertive now. I put boundaries in place. I tell people when things aren't acceptable, and I set my standards high from the beginning, so I attract better quality friendships. So it's really important that you if you're looking to get into any sort of relationship, to read other people's stories, not just mine, because they too talk about boundaries and assertiveness and what they found out through their own experiences. And so it's very, very important. Also, some sex repulsed asexuals, they're sex repulsed in terms of penetration, but they're not sex repulsed as in doing sexual acts. So they, for example, might still be okay with masturbation. There are a small percentage of the sex repulsed asexuals that don't mind touching and that don't mind, doing some sexual acts, but they don't want sexual intercourse, for example. So they might want things, like I said, like masturbation. They may even want to try oral sex, some of them. But, obviously this is the Asexual Guide to Sex, and it goes to all the different types of sexual stuff that you could try in terms of foreplay masturbation, sexual intercourse, all this type of thing. Some people class oral sex, anal sex, and sexual penetration intercourse as a whole thing, as all sex. And other people class, some of them as sex and sex acts. So it really depends on your perspective again. But all this type of thing is in the book. So, but the boundaries and assertiveness and communication skills in relationships are imperative to have a loving, healthy, happy relationship with or without sex. And some asexuals who are sex repulsed will benefit from the fact they are reading other people's asexual sex stories, and they are able to still relate to how the asexual feels in those moments. Because obviously there's some people in the book who are asexual who found out they're sex repulsed through having sex, and they really don't ever want it again in their life. It's disgusting to them. So, it's very, very interesting to read other people's perspectives wherever you fall in the asexual spectrum. And if you are sex repulsed, you can still appreciate the mindset and feelings of the person who's having this and having had the sexual experience, and they're explaining it to you. You can still relate to them. There's still going to be some stories in the book that you can relate to personally. And this can, boost your confidence and self-esteem, knowing that you're not the only one who feels that way. You can relate to the person and know you're not alone. It provides a sense of community, the book does, because you can connect with these real life people who have, given their time, energy, and effort to help you in your own asexual life journey. This is really important. The asexuals in this book have spent weeks, hours, months, day in, day out on their edits with me. There's one person, more than one person, that spent over 6 months on their personal story. There's lots of people that spent months on their personal story. There's one person who spent over 1.5 years on their personal story, because I actually started writing the book in June 2019. That's when I officially started writing it, although I did a little bit for it back in 2017, which not many people know. But I officially started the whole book in June 2019. So it's very, very interesting, because some people are just curious as well. So some people who are sex repulsed are curious. They're curious to know what it feels like to have sex if you're asexual without wanting to try it themselves, right? But obviously there is going to be sexually explicit detail in this book. So like I said, if you're sex repulsed and you don't like that type of thing, you're not really going to want to read it. If you do read it, you're going to have to take it in bit by bit, very slowly, have lots of breaks and rest. I do know that. I mean, I am personally sex repulsed for me, right? And a lot of the stories I can be okay to read, but there is one specifically that is very difficult for even me to read as the author, as a sex repulsed asexual. It's very, very difficult for me to read that. Every time I read it, I'm like, oh my God, it's just I need a break. I need to it's really poof. So it is, but it's needed in the book, because just because I feel that way, some people who read the book won't, and they need to hear that. The outcome is still good in the end for them, but you need to hear different points of view, the good, the bad, and the fugly, of what it's like to have sex if you're asexual. There's no point in sugarcoating it. This book doesn't sugarcoat sex, which a lot of other books do. They show the glorification of it, the amazing orgasmic side of it, which I still don't get. And that's what they show. And so it's going to be good for asexuals to read a book that, literally isn't saying sex is some wonderful thing all the time. And it shows a balanced view in some respects of sex, because there's the good, the bad, and the ugly in there, not just one particular person or a few people saying, hey, this is so good, or hey, this is so bad. Right? And so you're able to make an informed choice of decision if you want to try that or not. But if you're sex repulsed, asexual, like I said, who doesn't want to try sex, that for definite, you can still benefit from reading the book by, learning assertiveness skills, boundary skills, high levels of communication skills. All these things are very, very important. You can learn through the experiences of other people having to go through all that yourself. You can relate to these people. You can understand even more about asexuality through these people who've given up their time, energy, and effort and spent hours, weeks, days, and months to bring you the most insightful book ever. This Asexual Guide to Sex is an educational book. It's told in a heartfelt, heart-wrenching, emotional way that's raw, real, and true, that doesn't hold anything back, but we've worked on their stories together so that they can be read and understood by those who don't understand sex well, who don't understand it at all, who are new to sex when you're asexual, because I've had to make sure the book is written from a perspective of, if someone doesn't know anything about sex, what the heck are you talking about in this book, right? Because that's what the book starts with, the person who doesn't know much about sex whatsoever, but even for those people who've got gaps in their knowledge and don't understand certain things about sex, it's really, really going to be useful for that as well. Let's face it, even the mainstream sex education is rubbish. A lot of the time it's just rubbish. There's so many gaps in people's knowledge, and people are just blagging it a lot of the time, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're just getting themselves into unsafe, unpredictable situations because they don't know what to expect. So this book is good. Obviously there might be some sex repulsed asexuals that still think about trying to have sex, because like I said, they might want to do sexual acts or try them without actually having sex. Or there might even be some sex repulsed asexuals that just think, I wonder what it'd be like to try sex, and maybe they're trying to persuade themselves to have sex, which I'm not saying is a good thing to do, right? I think you should have free will if you're going to have sex, not be pushing, But, people do sometimes want to change their mind. They want to try new things. So it's up to the individual. But, the book is really good because it's so insightful, so educational, so informative. And the book is not done in a way at all that glorifies sex. In fact, quite the opposite. It's done in a way that is raw, real, authentic, true, told from the heart. It goes into the nitty-gritty of sex as you've never seen it before in your life. I don't know any other book on the market that's going to be like this, right? I got approached by a publishing company, traditional one, a year before last, and when they were thinking about publishing this book, and I told them and I gave them the brief of it, they spoke to their marketing team and they said there's definitely an audience for it, definitely a market for it, but they wouldn't do it because they want just nice stories. They want ones with the icing on top, the sugar coating, which I don't do. I think there definitely needs to be a book out there that tells the real raw truth about sex as they've never ever seen it before, because there's not one out there, is there? A lot of the sex books out there are done by psychologists, psychiatrists, dating and relationships coaches that are geared towards heterosexuals, and that's no good for an asexual person, because asexuals are different. We think differently, our body sometimes works differently, our mind works differently, our emotions we feel and express differently because we're wired differently. We're not wired like everyone else. But a lot of coaches, traditional dating coaches, they don't realize this. They don't realize that we're so different. They just don't understand us. I class myself as a dating and relationships coach and mentor, actually, from experience, life experience, although I have done a weekend coaching course with the Coaching Academy. I'm not a qualified coach in the full sense of the word, but I'm qualified through my life experience, and I do believe this book, if most people buy it, whoever can buy it, it will help raise awareness of asexuality with the general sexual population as well. I need as many people as possible to spread the word. So even if you are sex repulsed asexual, the benefit of spreading the word of asexuality is you're going to have And by buying the book, you'll spread the awareness of asexuality more. How? Because the more people that buy the book on Amazon, the more it goes up in the search rankings in Amazon on different books and gets on different seller lists, and the more people can see it. The more people that see it, the more sexuals that see it, the more we can educate these people and finally put an end to all the suffering that sometimes we go through at the hands of sexuals who can't understand and accept that we are real, that asexuality is a genuine sexual orientation. Do you know what I mean? This book actually shows people that without a shadow of a doubt. I believe this book is going to make history, and I do need your help. I can't get it to like the top of Amazon without your help, you know? So even if you put the book away, you don't want to read much of it, but you want to support asexuality and get it recognized as a sexual orientation globally, which is my mission, to get asexuality recognized as sexual orientation. There's a lack of sexual attraction throughout the whole globe. So no asexual has to live in fear of ridicule ever again. The more hands that books go into, the more asexuals get it, the more parents of asexuals get it, the more family members, the more relatives, the friends, the spouses of asexuals get it, the more doctors, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, sex coaches, all these type of people that get this book. The more people that get this book, the more people that really understand asexuality, the core of it. No longer will we be a shadow, in the dark, trying to fumble our way around in this sexualized world because people just don't see us. It's like we're hidden. It honestly is like we're the hidden people of the world that no one knows about. We're the hidden sexuality, and we need to come out of our shell. We are just as special as anyone else. We deserve as much love, care, and happiness as we are. I'm absolutely sick and tired, as I'm sure you have, of everyone associating sex with love together, right? In this book, it shows that sex is different because it shows asexuals can love and be happy and live without sex. Even the ones that are having it don't, by and large, need to have sex as an actual necessity. It's important as well to bridge the gap between sexuals and asexuals, to actually say, hey, we have this one thing in common, sex. Some of us don't actually like it, want it, or need it, but some asexuals do have sex as well. It's going to be difficult to explain to sexuals sometimes, like why asexuals don't like sex, how it feels differently when they do have it. And it helps protect, I feel, asexuals more if a sexual person reads this book, because they'll be able to see that actually it's your sexual orientation, and hopefully it'll help less sexual abuse cases and stuff like that. I would love it if it did. I can't guarantee that, obviously. I make no promises on that. But what I'm saying is, the more awareness we raise of asexuality, the more we are likely to be taken seriously, and the more people are going to need to consent with us, because since asexuals don't predominantly like, want, or need sex in the first place and don't naturally think about it, they're going to have to ask us a lot more, aren't they? There's going to be a lot more consent involved. There's going to be a lot more pursuing consent. And this is very important. We need this in the world. So the more asexuals buy this book, even if you're not going to read much of it yourself, you're still supporting asexuality. You're supporting the lives of asexuals. You are helping the greater good and my mission, which is a hard mission. I mean, my Asexual Perspectives book, I sell that every month, but I don't make profit on it. Like, all the money just goes back into websites like my asexualise.com blog, and buying domain names and anything else I need, that's associated with the Asexualise brand usually. It pays for my insurance and all that type of thing. Like, I mean, it'd be great if I could make a career out of doing things for asexuals. That would be my dream, and writing more books for asexuals. I'm not going to lie, it'd be my dream, because I love helping asexuals. I do have to have a roof over my head and eat in life, like everyone does. And, there are people that do work for other sexualities. There's one guy on Twitter, his whole business is around, helping gay men with their relationships, all that type of stuff. So there's no reason why we shouldn't have more asexuals being paid for the the work that they do, to raise awareness. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing, but I'm not about the money. I'll do help asexuals and write, I write books because it's the love of my life, and so's asexuality, and I do this channel because I just love it. To not do it feels wrong to me, it's like a part of my soul. And I feel better for working back on the Asexual Guide to Sex book now. I feel a lot happier. My mental health has improved greatly since I started doing more live streams again as I've got better. I'm a lot better than I was before, which is really, really good. My mind's in a much better place now. I feel I got my soul back. I feel so much happier. So I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm just trying to work hard now on finishing the book. The book's very good for my mental health, because it's my passion, to help asexuals and write books is my greatest dream come true, because I really believe in making a difference in this world while we're here to make it, But I couldn't do this book if it wasn't for all the beautiful asexuals in it, I really want to thank everyone who's in the book. You know who you are. I can't do it without you, You make that book what it is, the such varied experiences and perspectives and all that help and advice, such personal advice. The world needs this book, and it needs it now. There's more people online than ever before, so this is the right time to get this book out, right time. And I will do my best to get it out as soon as possible. It's my huge focus now, it's what's really important to me. It's just I've got to make sure that I do everything I need to do, write everything I need to write for the book, Like I said, I'm doing a lot of safety aspects in my part. That's a huge responsibility. And I find it easier when I'm in flow, but obviously some things like interrupt flow. Like I had my washer dryer delivered this week. So most of my day was taken up with that day with cleaning, like cleaning the kitchen, then taking everything out of the kitchen before they came. Then they were fitting it, and then it was running an auto cycle, and then it was just it's been a busy week. But the last today and I should say Thursday and Wednesday now, I've been working on this book, so I'm so proud of everyone who's taken part. There's going to be 18 asexuals in book in total, including me, but there's a lot of information in there. And I suspect it's going to be probably in the printed edition about the same size as this one when it comes out, which is my first one, which is a big book. So yeah, I'm anticipating it to be around probably 400 pages or more, in that size. So yeah, it's a big book, but it's just what's needed, isn't it? There's nothing like it on the market. Nothing to help asexuals and how to have sex, and as we're 1% of the population, recorded 1%, there's probably a lot more of us. It stands to reason that some of us are going to get into relationships with sexuals, and we're not going to know what to do, and we're going to be scared, and we're going to be feeling lonely, and like we don't know what to do. And especially as there's a lot of taboos and controversy around the fact that asexuals who are having sex aren't really asexual and stuff like that, But you can still lack sexual attraction and participate in sex if you want to, choose to. Asexuality is not a choice, but asexuals still have a choice of whether they have sex or not. Obviously, for sex repulsed asexuals that hate sex, there is no choice for them usually but not to have it, because the feel fact they hate it and their body just wouldn't let them do that and their mind doesn't want it. That means there is no choice. They just won't have sex. That's it. They just can't do it. For me personally, like I said, I can, have imagery or words and my body gets aroused, but I personally don't want sex. My soul doesn't want sex. My mind doesn't want sex. My being doesn't want sex. It's like my body has responses of its own to certain sexual stimuli, and it's like, why? It's a bit alien to me. It's like I don't really get that, but it is what it is. It gets very confusing when you're a asexual person having that experience, though. It's like, hang on a minute, and that's why I thought it was heterosexual for years, because I have these type of experiences which a lot of heterosexuals experience. But I didn't realise I don't have any sexual attraction. But I did when I started exploring asexuality. And then I'm like, I've never looked at a guy and thought I want sex with him. I'm only attracted to guys. And throughout my whole childhood, I never thought about sex. Didn't enter my head. Kissing, talking, holding that person's hand, just plenty of romance. I can remember this guy I fancied, and I remember going near his area where he lived. I didn't even know what house he lived in. I just remember, his face I was thinking about, and I just wanted to hold his hand as I'm walking down the street, and I just wanted to be close to him and give him a kiss would probably have been nice too, but just to hold his hand, and that's the type of thing I thought about. That was when I was like 15 years old. I didn't go around thinking about sex. It wasn't entering my head. It's only when guys said about it to me that I'm like, huh? I'm like, what? Huh? Because it's like alien concept to me. So I've always been asexual. I just didn't realise it, and I get more and more sex repulse these days quite a lot, But you have to understand that everyone has their right to change their mind. So some asexuals that read the book, they might think, I wouldn't mind trying sex. Then when they read the book, they might think, I never want to have sex, which is good because you've made a decision for yourself, right? And just like any asexuals who have sex can then decide they don't want it ever again. Or vice versa, Everyone has the right to change their mind. It's a human right, Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love to you. Everyone has the right to change their mind. It's your body. It's your life. It's your soul. And, it's very, very important that you do what's right for you. It's very, very important. No one should be telling you what you can and can't do. And if you are an asexual who's watching this and you are worried about what people think because you actually do want to try sex, I want you to get this book. It'll be good for you, There are asexuals who want to know about sex. I've seen it in groups. I've seen it in forums. You are not alone. And I just know it's very difficult for you and upsetting sometimes because you know that if you put it in forums or certain groups, people are going to be like, well, you're not asexual. And they're going to completely invalidate your sexual orientation and dismiss it, as that you can't be asexual if you're having sex. I personally don't like sex for me these days, but if I was to change my mind, which I don't see me ever doing because I'm getting more and more sex repulsed these days, but if I ever change my mind, it wouldn't alter the fact of me not experience sexual attraction. I still wouldn't experience sexual attraction. It's not going to change. I've been kissing, I was kissing a heterosexual guy I was in a relationship briefly with, and it's like, the year before last, wasn't it? But up to 3 hours, not totally his lips all the time, but about 3 hours it was, and it's like, never made me want to have sex with him. I can kiss hot, aesthetically hot, they look so attractive and gorgeous. I just want to snog them, and aesthetically so beautiful looking. I can snog those type of guys, but I still don't want sex with them. I've even thought when I'm kissing them, like, am I experiencing any sexual attraction whatsoever? And it's like, nope, just not there. It's just not there. I'm definitely asexual, 100%. But I have the grey area of kissing, which is sexual behaviour, and I have all this high levels of sexual arousal going on. Well, I don't call it sexual arousal. I just call it arousal because to me, I'm not sexual. So I have high levels of arousal going on. And that's just weird because I'm not sexual. I'm asexual. So it's asexual arousal that isn't asexual, but it is. Well, it is asexual because there's absence of sexual attraction, arousal. It gets very complicated, doesn't it? But yeah, so I'm an asexual person who does experience high levels of arousal, but sometimes it's just not good for me because it's kind of like I need to relieve the arousal, but then I can't be bothered to do that. And it's like, I think it's hard when you have grey areas. I think it's better if you have clearly defined, no grey areas whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? When you have grey areas, it can be very difficult. And it can be very difficult when you get into a relationship if you have grey areas, because sometimes you don't honestly know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because, you need to try stuff, but then you want to have boundaries in place of what you don't like from the beginning. That's the type of thing I'm talking about at the moment, actually, when I'm writing the book about boundaries and I'm talking about, like, it's good if you know as much information beforehand about yourself, what you like and what you don't like, before you get into a relationship. That way you can set boundaries clearly. But sometimes you only get those type of things from experience of being in relationships. You only know what you like and you don't like, because you can do things with yourself, which is always a good thing to try if you want to. But it can feel differently to a person actually doing that who's not you. It can be preferable for someone else to do that to you, or it can be preferable for you to do that to yourself, or maybe you just in the end don't like it at all. And for me, I used to be naked with a guy years ago. I used to do all, I used to have sexual intercourse. I used to do masturbation stuff. I used to have all my body naked, and I sometimes thought about it. Like, I sometimes thought, oh, I really feel weird being naked right now. Like, I didn't feel so good about that at certain times, but overall I was used to it. But there was certain times I'm kind of like, oh, I really don't want to be revealing my top now. It feels a bit weird, like not a right moment. I think within the past it was a bit like if I felt in the mood, I felt more comfortable for it. If I didn't, then I didn't. But nowadays I'm just like, I'm not interested in a guy looking or touching that. I just like, I can look and touch it and do whatever to his chest, but I'm just not interested in doing that to mine. I don't mind, like, if he's got his hands over me like that. I don't mind that, So again, these are all type of boundaries. But like I said, sometimes we don't know them until we get into a relationship. And sometimes those boundaries might change. You might find as you get into a relationship that you're actually more comfortable with something than you thought you were. Because I have been naked completely before in the past and done lots of sexual stuff in the past. Like, sometimes I ask myself, am I going to like any of the stuff in the past, once to become in a serious committed relationship and more comfortable with the person, trust the person, and maybe I'm open to doing a little bit more like touching stuff, maybe, but overall not, but sometimes you have to explore these things, but you have to let the person know that you want to explore and you may not want to carry on exploring, So relationships can be very difficult. They can be very complex. And so this is why the Asexual Guide to Sex book is good and okay for all the asexual who are sex repulsed, but not sex repulsed so much that the book is going to cause them severe anxiety, stress, depression, and feeling sick. The ones that can actually be okay reading it as much as possible, know that it is at your own expense whether you read it or not. So for a sex repulsed asexual, don't blame me if you start reading it and you think, oh, gross, because you might very well think that. Even me, who's written the book with the other asexuals, there are a couple of stories and there were one particular I said about, and to me it's like, but I have to read it because I'm the author, and also, like, it's good to have different experiences in the book. Very good, and it's just hard for me to stomach that particular story, but hey ho, it's good for me to have different experiences and push myself sometimes, So anyway, these are some of the reasons why it's good and beneficial for an asexual sex repulsed person to still read the book, I think. And the end chapter as well. Before I go, the end chapter is called Journey of Discovery. It's an insightful read, and I write a little bit of that part of the book. But also there is a special story at the back, so there is, in the last part of the book, you'll get to hear Leanne's story. And Leanne's story, me and Leanne worked on their personal story for over a year, well, about a year and a half together, off and on. And the journey of discovery is just a story that every asexual should read, where they fall on the spectrum. It's very insightful and very interesting and super helpful, so they've got a story all on their own in that particular part of the book. So it's really, apart from I'm sharing my own experience as well. Oh, lots of love. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. I appreciate it. So yeah, so with the journey of discovery, every asexual person will love to read that. And the reason why I can't say because I've been giving the book away, I've given the story away, but you know, it's relevant to every asexual. It's one of those stories that you just feel, you just feel like you can accept yourself because you read their story. That's what I love about the journey of discovery. I think it helps you to accept your own sexual identity more. And I think that's a really good end to the book. I'm not going to give away what it says in that journey of discovery, but at the moment it's looking like the book's going to be in 6 parts in total. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm carrying on writing it. It's really, really amazing. Like, I'm so happy that all the asexual stories of other people are now finished in the book. Like I said, my part of the book's a huge responsibility because I'm dealing with all the safety aspects and a lot more detail. And yeah, and I have quite a lot to write as well. So, you know, when I get into flow, it's really good. It's sort of like the questions and answers are coming naturally through what I'm writing at the right time. Just all the questions I need to get answered in my part of the book are just being answered through the flow of the text itself, which is amazing. So my book, a part of the book's done slightly differently to everyone else's. Everyone else's in part of the book's done in a questions and answers format throughout their personal story. But don't be fooled by that simplicity. I mean, it's taken a long time to come up with those questions, and there's 2 different parts to the asexual sex stories part of the book. One, the first part is more of the stories. The second one is much more in-depth help, advice, and guidance. And the people that have taken part in that second part of the book, it's not actually the second part of the whole book. It's like the 5th part of the book, I believe, but who've taken part in the asexual sex stories second half of the stories, if you like, that are giving much more help, advice, and guidance. They've got like another 19 questions they had to answer in comparison to the first lot of people. So there's a much more in depth, you know, and they have worked so hard. I cannot tell you enough how much people have worked on this book. I couldn't have done this book without them, honestly. The amount of personal details people are sharing, I have been amazingly blown away and happy that I've just had all this support. You know, I feel like I've extended my asexual family again by writing the book. You know, the people in the book I've got to know obviously intimately in that way, and they're so supportive. They've been really nice, like messaging me, asking me I'm okay at things, because obviously for the last year and a half I've been through quite a lot of personal stuff and professional stuff myself. And so, you know, we've kind of had a professional, but in some cases personal relationship as well, in terms of like working relationship as well, really. So, you know, I'm really excited for this book. I can't wait for it to come out. I know it's going to absolutely blow your mind when you read this Asexual Guide to Sex book, because there's no other sex book on the market, obviously, because it's geared towards asexuals. It's badly needed. I mean, seriously, like, what the hell do you do if you're asexual and you do think about trying sex? There's just no other book like it. No one caters for our needs. No one understands us. Not really. Not in the great scheme of things. You know, you can talk to sex experts and stuff, but they will always do it from the point of view of a sexual person. Usually they will still be biased even if they say they're not, because they still think that sex is what's needed in a relationship for every relationship to be healthy and happy, you know. But obviously, in order to have a healthy and happy sexual relationship, you need to want it in the damn first place. Do you know what I mean? You need to be willing to give it a go, willing to give it a try, and want to actually try it out and want to actually do it, you know, and be willing to do it. If you're not willing to do it, don't want to do it, then you shouldn't do it, you know? And obviously that is also said in the book as well. So, you know, it's very, very important that people do get the Asexual Guide to Sex, even if they are a sex repulsed asexual, if they can do it for one of the reasons I've stated. That one is to, I just want to recap before I go off, one is to, you know, understand what boundaries are, assertiveness skills, and communication skills, all those type of things. So the book teaches you, shows you, all of that, is important for any type of relationship, including friendships. So it's still a book that can help you a lot, even if you don't want sex. If you're a sex repulsed asexual, but some sex acts you don't mind doing, then again, this book is going to help you. If you're an asexual, sex repulsed person, but you're not sex repulsed for other people, and you're curious to find out what sex does feel like to an asexual person, even though you don't want it yourself, that is another good reason to get the book. And another good reason is to support asexuality. Like I said, I cannot get awareness of asexuality without your help. I need you to help me, to help all of us, in raising awareness of asexuality. The more people that get the book, the more people will actually be able to see it in search results on Amazon, which is what we want, because we want more and more people to really, really want this book, because it can change lives. Asexual Guide to Sex can change the course of history where sexuality and asexuality is concerned, because finally people will take us seriously. Finally, they'll be able to see that asexuals think differently, and feel differently about sex. And it's not some textbook saying that. It's actually, straight. People will be able to see it like actually in reality, told through the words of the real life stories of asexuals. People won't be able to deny asexuality is real because they'll see it's real. So yeah, it's really, really important that everyone does get this book and change the course of history. So many people have never ever heard of asexuality before. It's still like an unknown sexuality to a large degree, and the more people who understand it on a fundamental, deep level can just experiences like they've never even knew existed, and something needs to go down in history, doesn't it, to say this is who we are. We're here, we're real, we really matter. This is how we think differently, feel differently. This is how we are. People need to understand that asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction. So many people think the word asexual means that we're highly sexual people. No, A in front of the sexual means absence of sexual attraction, meaning we don't naturally get the need, urge, want for partner sexual intercourse. So even if we consider having sex, it's not natural to us. That's why we need this book, and we need it to reach more people. And obviously, those people who are not asexual, who are virgins, will still want to read this book, because let's face it, the sex education system is still lacking, virtually non-existent. And this can help a lot of people, a lot of teenagers who are able to have sex legally, a lot of, and even the ones that are thinking about having it later on when it's legal, for them. So anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next video live stream. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that great big bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. I really appreciate you tuning in. Love you loads, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.